Here's an interesting one. Let's talk about people who had some influence and power and have lost it in the past 12 to 18 months. Do you understand? I mean, they've lost their houses. They're about to lose their houses. They're in traditionally affluent communities. They got a whole lot of signs of social distress rising in their families, including alcohol and drug use, which seems to be the one thing that they're not cutting out of their budget. Right? And this is kind of classic self-medication in times of social distress. Where would we find those people? We're going to offer to run a group on managing stress during times of difficult change. We're going to offer that to community clubs, community organizations, and through the auspices of managing stress, we're going to come in and begin to talk about what happens to people around their alcohol and drug usage during times of high stress. If I did a community announcement that said we're going to talk about stress and distress in families, I might get 50 people show up. If I say in this same community, we're going to talk about alcohol and drug problems in families. In these kind of communities, it's going to be a lonely night for those of you who are staffing it. Again, question, not how do we get them to us, how do we nest recovery or create alternatives? Remember my reference to Don Coyas this morning? Remember our tree we dug up and brought back to life and stuck it back in that same old dirty hole? Don says we need a healing forest. The issue is not saving a tree. He said, he says in the native way, there is no separation between the individual, family, tribe, and community. To heal one is to heal all. To wound one is to heal all, or is to wound all. So what he's saying is what? You got to treat the community. You got to treat the soil. And you got to treat the soil, meaning you got to treat the conditions out of which these rising alcohol and drug problems are getting fed. Does that mean that there's an advocacy role in all of this? This drug-saturated community that I'm talking back here about us taking over. What do you think the alcohol advertising is in this community? What about the frequency of alcohol outlets? If I did a mapping and looked at how many alcohol-serving establishments exist in this 16 or 18 square block area of this community. What do you think we'd find in terms of high alcohol content alcohol products in this community as compared to almost any place else in the city? Does that mean that we begin to confront the alcohol industry and distributors related to their marketing and their pumping high purity, high potency alcohol products into our community? And then using young African American athletes as an example to market those products to our children. Yeah, it says we start raising hell about that and say we're not going to be silent about those conditions in our community. And that's part of what Don talks about in terms of healing forest.